Have you noticed how heavy life feels when you're trying to make everyone understand you? You explain yourself. You try to prove your worth. You keep showing up hoping someone will finally see you clearly. But here's the truth. Nobody's watching as closely as you think. And that's your freedom. Have you ever felt that quiet heaviness you wake up with? The kind that doesn't even belong to you. Before the day begins, it's already there, pressing on your chest. You check your phone, and suddenly your peace starts slipping away. You compare, you perform, you try to matter, in a world that barely looks up. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with labels you never chose. Not enough. Falling behind. They're doing better. You've carried them for so long that you've forgotten what your life feels like without them. But here's the truth, that weight isn't yours. You picked it up because the world handed it to you, and you never stopped to ask, do I really need to carry this? Most of our pain doesn't come from what life gives us. It comes from what we refuse to put down. The Buddha called this dukkha, the suffering born from clinging to what was never truly ours. We hold on to opinions, expectations, and invisible standards, hoping they'll make us feel worthy, but they only make the world heavier on our hearts. So take a breath. Picture yourself setting that heavy backpack down, unzip it, remove every label, every demand, every comparison, every silence should lay them gently on the table and ask yourself, what weight am I carrying that isn't mine? Because the truth is, nobody is keeping score. The moment you stop trying to be understood by everyone else, you begin to understand yourself. The moment you set down what was never yours, you become lighter, freer, finally ready to live your own life. In this video, we'll explore 7 timeless Buddhist lessons to help you release what weighs you down and return to your true self. And stay until the end. There's a special bonus lesson waiting for you, one that may completely shift how you see peace, freedom, and your place in this world. So take a deep breath. This is where you stop performing for the world and start coming home to yourself. Lesson 1. Open the fist. Stop holding the ember. There's a story the mind never stops saying that holding on keeps us safe. We grip our worries, our grudges, our plans, as if tightening our fists could stop life from changing. But what we call control is often the very thing that's burning us. Imagine cupping a glowing ember in your palm. At first, it feels warm, comforting even, like holding something familiar. But the longer you clutch it, the more it begins to scorch your skin. Still, you hold on, telling yourself, if I let go, I'll lose something important. Yet it isn't the ember that hurts you, it's your grip around it. In life, that ember takes many forms. It could be the need for someone's approval, the guilt that never fades, the resentment you keep feeding, or the constant fear of being left behind. These are the fires we hold close, believing they make us strong or secure, when in truth, they only keep us suffering. The Buddha taught that pain itself is not the problem. Pain is simply a part of being alive. What deepens our suffering is the second arrow, the one we shoot ourselves. The first arrow is life's event, the loss, the change, the disappointment. The second arrow is our resistance, the stories we tell ourselves about how things should have been, the memories we replay, the illusion that if we just hold tighter, we'll somehow regain control. But what if, for once, you didn't? What if you allowed your hand to open, just slightly, and let the ember rest instead of burn? Take a slow breath right now and notice your body. Feel your jaw, your shoulders, your hands. Observe how much tension lives quietly beneath your awareness, how much clinging happens even in stillness. With your next exhale, soften everything. Unclench. Whisper inwardly, open. In that small act of release, something remarkable happens. The pain doesn't vanish, but it begins to lose its power. Because peace isn't found in avoiding pain, it's found in releasing your attachment to it. The ember cools, the air returns, and what once burned you becomes gentle warmth again, harmless, human, real. Letting go isn't weakness. It isn't surrendering your life or your responsibilities. It's simply remembering that your hand was never meant to stay closed forever. Life was always meant to flow through you, not be trapped within your grip. So ask yourself with honesty, what am I still holding that's burning me? When you find the answer, don't fight it. Don't analyze it. Just open your hand. Let the ember fall. Watch the smoke rise. And in that quiet, sacred space, feel what it's like to finally stop holding on and start breathing again. Lesson 2. Be the lighthouse, not the weather vane. Since childhood, most of us have been trained to chase approval. We learned that our worth lives in the eyes of others, in the grades we received, the smiles we earned, the validation we collected. Slowly, almost without noticing, we began shaping our lives around other people's reactions. We bent our truth to fit their comfort. We adjusted our dreams to match their expectations. And like a weather vane spinning in every gust of wind, we started turning in whatever direction brought us the most applause. But here's the truth. Applause is temporary, and validation fades as quickly as it arrives. The people who cheer for you today may forget your name tomorrow, and if your peace depends on their approval, it will vanish the moment they look away. The Buddha taught through the principle of Hirasaka, come and see for yourself. It's a reminder that truth is not something to be handed to you by others. It is something to be discovered within. The wise person doesn't live to please the crowd, they live to align their actions with their own quiet knowing. So instead of being a weather vane that spins for every opinion, become a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It doesn't change its light for approval. It simply stands steady, rooted, and bright, guiding others by remaining true to itself. Its power doesn't come from what moves around it, but from what stays constant within it. That's what inner peace feels like. When you stop performing for the world, you rediscover the calm rhythm of your own soul. Ask yourself this simple but revealing question. If no one clapped, would I still make the same choice? If the answer is yes, that is the voice of integrity, the place inside you that no amount of judgment or praise can touch. Each time you act from that space, you strengthen your light. You become less reactive, less hungry for approval, and more centered in quiet confidence. Remember, not everyone will understand you, and they don't need to. A lighthouse doesn't dim itself for those who prefer the dark. It shines because that is its nature. When you live from inner truth instead of external validation, you stop chasing acceptance and start radiating authenticity. So today, practice standing still in your own light. The winds of opinion will always change direction, but your soul was never meant to spin with them. Hold steady. Be the lighthouse and let the world find its way by the clarity of your beam. Lesson 3. The Sand Mandala Mindset. There's a quiet wisdom in how Buddhist monks create a sand mandala. They spend days, sometimes weeks, placing each grain of colored sand with careful devotion, crafting something breathtaking, intricate, and beautiful. And then, when it's finally complete, they do something most of us would struggle to understand. They sweep it away. In that moment, the art isn't destroyed. It's completed. Because for them, the purpose of the mandala was never to last forever. It was to teach that beauty and impermanence are not opposites, but partners in the same dance. In our own lives, we often resist this truth. We want things to stay the same. The relationships that once made us feel seen. The phases of life that made us feel secure. The moments that felt too good to end. We call it heartbreak, disappointment, or loss when things change. But much of our pain comes not from the ending itself, but from our refusal to let it end. We cling to yesterday's version of who we were, afraid that if we let it go, we'll lose ourselves too. Yet everything around us, the seasons, the tides, even our breath is whispering the same ancient truth. Nothing is meant to stay. The Buddha called this anicca, the truth of impermanence. Everything that exists, every feeling, every person, every situation is in a constant state of becoming and dissolving. And it's only when we forget this truth that we suffer. When we try to hold the river still, we lose the music of its flow. When we try to freeze time, we trade the beauty of presence for the illusion of permanence. But what if, instead of resisting change, we began to honor it? What if we could meet endings with the same reverence that monks give their mandalas, recognizing that letting go doesn't erase meaning, it fulfills it? Each time something ends, it clears space for what's next. Each time we release, we make room for renewal. Without endings, new beginnings could never take root. Tonight, try a simple ritual. Before you sleep, think of one thing from your day that you want to honor, maybe a small joy, a conversation, a moment of effort. Then think of one thing you're ready to release: a worry, a mistake, a passing moment you no longer need to carry. Name both quietly and let them go. This small act is your daily mandala, a way of acknowledging that even life's simplest days are sacred creations, meant to be built, appreciated, and released. Change isn't here to take something from you. It's here to remind you that nothing real is ever lost. It simply changes form. When you understand that, impermanence stops feeling like an ending and starts feeling like a return. Lesson 4. Lower the noise, raise the knowing. From the moment you open your eyes each morning, the world begins to whisper, and then it begins to shout. Notifications, opinions, headlines, trends, comparisons. Each one tugging at your attention, shaping your thoughts before you've even had time to find your own. The mind becomes crowded before the day even begins, filled with the voices of others, drowning out the one voice that truly matters: your own. We live in an age where silence feels unnatural. The world celebrates noise, constant updates, endless scrolling, and instant reactions. We're conditioned to fill every quiet space with sound, every still moment with stimulation. But here's the truth. The more we fill our lives with noise, the less we can hear the deeper knowing that guides us. The Buddha taught that peace doesn't arrive when life becomes quiet, it arrives when you do. Imagine your mind as a still lake. When the surface is calm, it reflects the sky above, vast, clear, and beautiful. But when disturbed by ripples, the reflection disappears, and all you see is distortion. In the same way, when your mind is constantly stirred by distraction, comparison, and reactivity, your natural wisdom becomes clouded. You can't see clearly, not because truth is gone, but because your attention has been scattered. And the more scattered it becomes, the further you drift from your own center. This is what the Buddha called upasama, the peace that arises from stillness, not from withdrawal, but from balance. It doesn't mean shutting the world out. It means knowing when the world's noise has become your own and gently choosing silence instead. When you begin to cultivate that inner quiet, you realize something profound. Silence isn't empty. It's full of clarity, intuition, and understanding. Beneath the constant chatter of thought, there's a still current of awareness that always knows what's right for you, but you can only hear it when you stop drowning it in noise. The modern world tries to convince us that more information means more wisdom, but that isn't true. You don't need more opinions. You need more presence. You don't need to absorb more noise. You need to listen more deeply. Real wisdom doesn't come from reacting faster. It comes from pausing longer. It comes from letting your mind rest long enough for truth to rise on its own. Think about how much energy we lose every day, trying to keep up with the noise arguing in our heads, overthinking conversations, chasing trends, and constantly checking who agrees with us. The noise doesn't just steal our time, it steals our connection to what's real. It's like trying to hear your heartbeat while standing next to a roaring crowd. It's still there, but you've forgotten its rhythm. The monks of old understood this. They spent hours in silence, not because they had nothing to say, but because they wanted to hear something deeper, something that words can't reach. But you don't need a monastery to find that same stillness. You can begin exactly where you are. When you wake up, before you reach for your phone, take one conscious breath. Feel it move through you, the rise, the fall, the quiet in between. That small pause is where your day truly begins. Throughout the day, Give yourself moments to lower the volume of the world. Walk without headphones. Eat without multitasking. Sit for a minute without needing to fill the space. Notice how quickly your mind rushes to distract itself, and simply let it be. The goal isn't to silence your thoughts, it's to hear them without being pulled away by them. Every time you return to that quiet awareness, you're reclaiming your power from the noise. The Buddha called this sati mindfulness. It's not about escaping life, it's about showing up for it fully. Mindfulness isn't something you do. It's what happens when you stop running and allow yourself to be exactly where you are. In that space, your reactions soften, your heart steadies, and your choices become wiser. You stop reacting to every gust of wind and start responding from a deeper place of stillness. Try this simple practice today. Pause right now and take a slow breath in. As you exhale, notice 3 sounds around you. Then bring your attention inward. Notice 2 sensations in your body. And finally, 1 clear intention for how you want to show up in this moment. This small exercise, 3 sounds, 2 sensations, 1 intention, is your doorway back to presence. It's how you lower the noise and raise the knowing. When you practice this, the chaos of the world doesn't disappear, but it loses its control over you. The news may still shout, opinions may still swirl, but you'll begin to notice something extraordinary. The storm can rage, and yet inside, you remain still. Like a mountain unmoved by the wind, your peace becomes unshakable. The world doesn't need you to be louder. It needs you to be clearer. And clarity can only be found in silence. When you return to that quiet place within, you don't just find peace, you find direction. You begin to live from wisdom instead of reaction, from awareness instead of impulse. The noise no longer decides who you are. So tonight, before you close your eyes, ask yourself, did I spend today listening to the world or to myself? If you can say, even for a moment, that you heard your own knowing, that you felt your own truth, then you've already begun to raise your light above the noise. The world will always speak loudly, but your peace will speak more clearly if only you make the space to hear it. Lesson 5. You're the cinema screen, not the film. Every day, the mind plays its endless movies. One moment, it's a comedy light, hopeful, full of dreams. The next, it becomes a thriller of worry or a tragedy of regret. Scene after scene, thought after thought, the film keeps changing. And yet, there's one thing that never changes the screen it all plays on. No matter what story appears, the screen remains untouched. The flames in the movie don't burn it. The storms don't soak it. The joy doesn't make it brighter, and the sorrow doesn't make it dimmer. The screen simply allows it all to pass through. That screen is your awareness, the unshakable witness behind every thought, every emotion, and every story your mind creates. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that truth. We've come to believe that we are the movie, that the thoughts we think define who we are. We hear a voice in our mind say, "I'm not good enough," and we take it as fact. We replay mistakes like reruns we can't turn off. We get caught inside our mental stories, forgetting that we are the one watching, not the one acting. The Buddha called this practice cittanupassana, mindfulness of the mind itself. It means observing thoughts as they arise, not to control them or silence them, but to see them for what they truly are. Temporary events passing through awareness. Just as clouds drift across the sky without staining it, your thoughts move through the space of your consciousness without ever defining it. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. You are not your doubts. You are the awareness that notices them, the sky behind the weather. Imagine sitting in a cinema. You're watching a film, completely absorbed, and suddenly something shifts. You remember, I'm sitting in a theater. The moment you remember that the tension in your body eases, you can still enjoy the story, but you no longer believe you're trapped inside it. This is what mindfulness does. It creates that subtle, sacred distance, enough space to remember who you really are. Throughout your day, your mind will project many films, memories, worries, plans, comparisons. Instead of trying to stop them, practice simply labeling them with gentle awareness. When you notice a thought, say to yourself, thinking. When you catch your mind planning, whisper, planning. When you feel judgment arise, note softly, judging. Then take a slow breath and return your attention to the present moment, the feeling of your breath, the sound of the world, the texture of now. This small act of noticing changes everything, because awareness itself is healing. You don't have to fight the movie, you just have to remember the screen. Every time you observe your thoughts without believing them, you loosen the mind's grip on your peace. Anxiety becomes less of a storm and more of a passing cloud. Self-doubt loses its sharpness because you see it as a habit, not a truth. Anger fades faster because you stop feeding it with your attention. The world inside your mind is powerful, but it isn't personal. It's a stream of passing experiences, a play of light and shadow projected on the canvas of consciousness. And once you know that you stop drowning in every emotion or thought that appears, you learn to rest in the awareness that watches, the awareness that was there before every thought and will remain after each one fades. So the next time your mind begins to spiral, when an old fear returns, when regret starts to replay, or when worry starts writing its script again, pause. Take one breath. Ask yourself gently, am I the thought or the one noticing the thought? That question alone can return you to peace. Because no matter what plays on the screen itself remains pure. You don't have to stop the mind to be free. You only have to stop mistaking it for yourself. When you realize you're the cinema screen, silent, aware, unshaken life storms may still pass across your view, but they'll never touch the stillness that you are. Lesson 6. Come home to the hearth. For most of our lives, we've been chasing a moving horizon called happiness. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when things finally fall into place, when I earn more, when I look different, when someone loves me back, when life stops being so uncertain. And yet, the moment we reach what we were chasing, happiness slips just a little further ahead, always one goal, one achievement, one fix away. It's like trying to catch the sunset by running faster. The light keeps moving, and we're left breathless, wondering why peace always feels like it belongs to another version of ourselves. But the truth is, joy was never out there waiting at the finish line. It has been sitting quietly inside you, like a small fire glowing in your living room, while you've been out in the cold, searching for warmth. You collect maps, you follow directions, you chase the next promise of fulfillment, but the hearth has always been at home. You just forgot to look. The Buddha called this santuti, the practice of contentment. It doesn't mean giving up ambition or pretending that pain doesn't exist. It means finding peace in what's already here, instead of postponing it for what might come next. When you stop telling yourself that happiness lives somewhere else, you start to see the beauty that's been quietly surrounding you all along. The taste of your morning tea, the feeling of sunlight on your skin, the sound of someone laughing in another room. These are the places where joy hides not in grand achievements, but in the ordinary moments we rush past on our way to something better. We live in a culture addicted to the future. We're taught that if we're not improving, we're falling behind. If we're not striving, we're wasting time. But what if that constant striving is what's been keeping you from actually living? What if happiness isn't something you earn, but something you remember? The problem isn't that life withholds peace from you. It's that your mind keeps moving too fast to notice it's already here. So take a moment now. Pause whatever you're doing and feel this breath. Feel the air move in and out. Notice the light in the room, the textures around you, the quiet rhythm of your body simply existing. These are not small things, they are life itself. This is your hearth. The fire of the present moment never went out. You just stopped tending it. Every time you return to it, even for a breath, you come home to yourself. Joy doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It doesn't bloom when your problems disappear. It blooms when your resistance softens. It lives in the pause between two thoughts, in the sip of water that refreshes you, in the simple awareness that right now, in this very breath, nothing is missing. The mind will always try to pull you into the next thing, another goal, another worry, another chase. But you can train it gently, like a restless child, to sit beside the fire and rest for a while. Tonight, when the day ends and the mind begins its usual search for what's lacking, try this small practice, the hearth check. Name 3 ordinary warmths you can feel right now. The soft light in your room, the texture beneath your hands, the quiet rhythm of your breath. These are not background details. They are the doorway back to presence. Every time you return to them, you remember that peace was never missing, only misplaced in the noise of wanting more. And the beautiful thing is, the hearth is always waiting. The fire of life has been burning within you since the day you arrived here. You don't have to chase it. You only have to come home. Lesson 7. Open hands. Hold more. So much of our suffering comes from our quiet attempts to control life. We try to control how others see us, how they feel, how things unfold, and how the future should look. We tighten our grip, convinced that if we just hold on tighter, we'll finally feel safe. But control is not safety. It's fear wearing armor. It's the illusion that life can be managed if only we stay strong enough, vigilant enough, perfect enough. And yet, the tighter we hold, the more life slips through our fingers. Imagine holding your hand out to feed a small bird. If your palm is open, the bird may land for a moment, resting in trust. But if you clench your fist to keep it close, it will struggle, panic, and fly away. Love, peace, people, opportunities, they are all like that bird. They only stay where there is freedom. The more you try to control them, the more they retreat. The open hand doesn't lose. It receives and lets go without fear. The Buddha taught that metta, or loving kindness, and khanti, patient acceptance, are the antidotes to this urge to control. Control is the mind's attempt to protect itself from pain. Compassion, on the other hand, is the heart's way of trusting that we can meet life as it comes, even when it doesn't follow our plans. Compassion doesn't demand certainty. It allows space for imperfection. It sees that everything, including our pain, is part of the river of change. And like a riverbank that guides water without choking it, compassion holds life with gentle boundaries instead of force. So many of us carry invisible exhaustion because we're trying to fix what isn't ours to fix people, outcomes, timelines, and even our own healing. We think, if I can just get everything right, then I'll finally rest. But the truth is, you'll never control enough to feel at peace. You can only let go enough to feel at ease. Peace isn't the reward for mastering life. It's the result of allowing life to flow without resistance. Ask yourself right now 2 simple but powerful questions. Is this mine to carry? And can kindness do the job control is failing at? You might be surprised by the answer. Often, the things that weigh on your shoulders were never meant to be yours. The guilt you keep replaying, the need to fix someone else's journey, the urge to force a perfect outcome, these are burdens borrowed from fear. Let kindness take them. Let understanding do what force never could. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to stop trying to manage what was never in your hands, to trust that life has its own intelligence, that people are allowed to learn in their own timing, that healing unfolds in its own rhythm, and that not every ending is a failure. The river doesn't need you to push it forward. It already knows the way to the sea. Compassion is not weakness. It's the highest form of strength, the courage to stay open in a world that taught you to harden. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you can love without clinging, help without controlling, and care without losing yourself in the process. True compassion says, I trust the flow. I don't need to grip what was never mine to own. So when you feel the urge to force life into place, pause and open your hand literally. Feel the difference between tension and release. Notice how peace always enters through the open spaces. This is the heart of spiritual maturity. Realizing that openness doesn't make you vulnerable to loss, it makes you available to grace. The open hand holds more, not because it clings, but because it's free. It receives what life offers, lets go when it must, and stays ready for what's next. In that soft strength, you will find something greater than control. You will find peace that doesn't depend on outcomes, and love that doesn't depend on fear. Bonus lesson. Fallow time, where wisdom germinates. In a world that glorifies busyness, stillness has become almost rebellious. We measure our worth by how much we do, how many tasks we complete, and how fast we move. The idea of doing nothing feels uncomfortable, even wrong. But nature tells a very different story. After the harvest, the farmer lets the field rest. No seeds, no ploughing, no noise. The soil lies quietly, gathering strength, restoring the nutrients that will nourish the next growth. This is called leaving the field fallow. It isn't wasted time, it's sacred time. Without that pause, nothing new could bloom. Your mind and heart are the same. You can't keep planting, producing and pushing without eventually draining your inner soil. You can't keep stirring the jar of your thoughts and expect clarity to appear. When you stop shaking the water, the ink slowly settles, and what was once murky becomes clear again. Stillness doesn't mean you've stopped growing. It means you've started listening. The Buddha spoke of samatha, calm abiding a stillness so deep that wisdom begins to rise naturally, like light from clear water. And in Taoist philosophy, there is wu-wei, effortless action, the art of doing by not forcing. Both point to the same truth. When you stop trying so hard to make life happen, life begins to flow through you effortlessly. The pause is not the absence of progress. It's the space where the next step finds you. You are not lazy for needing rest. You are not falling behind because you choose to slow down. You are simply remembering that the seasons of life were never meant to be constant summer. Even the heart has a rhythm it beats, it pauses, it beats again. The silence between the beats is what makes the rhythm whole. Try this simple practice, the 10 breath sit. Close your eyes and count your breaths from 1 to 10. Don't try to control them. Just notice each inhale and exhale. If your mind wanders, start over kindly. No judgment, no fixing, just returning. You're not meditating to reach enlightenment. You're simply allowing your mind to rest, to gather itself after so much running. Even a few breaths of true stillness can reset an entire day. When you allow yourself to do nothing, something profound begins to unfold. You start to hear the quiet wisdom that's been drowned out by constant motion. Ideas come softly. Emotions settle. The heart remembers what matters. And you realize that you were never stuck. You were simply overstirred. So let yourself rest. Let the field lie fallow. Let your thoughts settle like ink at the bottom of a glass. Growth doesn't always look like movement sometimes. It looks like stillness, because it's in that quiet, unhurried space that wisdom germinates, insight blooms, and peace finally takes root. You are not here just to achieve. You are here to be. And in your being calm, open, and unforced, everything you were chasing begins to find its way back to you. As this journey comes to an end, remember this. Peace was never about staying calm forever. It's about returning each time you forget. No one walks through life untouched by noise or untouched by pain. We all drift. We all lose our way. But within each of us, there's a quiet compass, a steady inner truth that always points us home. You might wander through storms. You might get lost in thoughts or caught in fear. But that compass never disappears. The direction of peace never changes. It only waits for you to look up again. So much of the spiritual path isn't about becoming something new. It's about remembering what you already are. You've learned that letting go doesn't make you weak. It makes you free. You've discovered that you don't need the world's approval to stand tall. You've seen that change is not loss, but renewal. You found that stillness doesn't mean doing nothing, it means allowing wisdom to surface on its own. Every lesson has been a path leading you back not to perfection, but to presence. In Buddhism, this is called right effort, the practice of beginning again, over and over, with kindness. It's the gentle vow to return whenever you drift, to notice when your mind has wandered, and instead of judging yourself, simply whisper, "Come back." That single act of returning is where freedom lives. You don't need grand awakenings or perfect discipline. You just need the willingness to keep coming home to yourself. Think of your heart as a compass. No matter how far you roam, it always knows the way. Even when you forget your direction, even when the map fades, one small moment of awareness, one conscious breath is enough to bring you back. Every return, no matter how small, rebuilds your peace from the inside out. Before you go, try this. Name one weight you're putting down today. It doesn't have to be something big, just one quiet burden you no longer wish to carry. Write it in the comments, or simply whisper it to yourself. Let it go with compassion, not force. In that small release, you honor everything you've learned. You don't have to be peaceful all the time. You only have to keep returning to it. Again and again. Because peace isn't something you hold, it's something you remember. And every time you come home to the quiet truth within you, life becomes clear again. So as you walk forward from this moment, carry this truth gently in your heart. No matter how loud the world becomes or how far you drift, the path home will always be one breath away. Just keep returning.